What's up, guys? Here with you, FC Wonderkid, episode 150, almost 3 years. Like you were saying, Bretson, before we started. How are you doing, my
Bonkers.
guy?
Aside from it being very early over here in Philadelphia, as we are filming, I am doing wonderfully, but I'm without a coffee, so I have to like smack myself to wake up. And what better way to wake up than you saying 3 years of almost doing this? I mean, 150 weeks, 150. I think our staying power. We're like the tortoise. Not the rabbit, right? Not the hare in the tortoise and the hare, right? We just keep on going, keep on talking about football. Listen, football is always going to be around. It's going to be whether or not you and I want to talk about it. I think there's a lot to talk about this week, man. We've got there are some big showdowns on Easter weekend, and I'm excited to dive in. The only question is, Alex, where do you want to start?
Well, with 150, we're witnessing greatness in football. We see a Premier League title race with 3 teams. We see Xabi Alonso staying. I might stay another year. No, I am going to stay. Not I might anymore. I am going to stay. That you called. You called this. You called this 3-4 weeks ago. And you were right, Bretton. So people, leave a like button because these predictions only happen here on the Monday show here at FC Wonderkid. And yes, we're about to go Bulls. Starting here with the Premier League. Arsenal Man City, the most talked game for the weekend. But all of us at the end thought the most boring game of this weekend too. 950 passes completed, 3 shots on target, and we were expecting goals. That's why it wasn't as great as it was. Am I right, Bretton?
You are right. I think optically that was a very challenging game to watch. But from the perspective of Arsenal getting what they needed out of the game, I think Arsenal won over. I mean, sure. Yes. That's what they needed to do. They got their job done. I think they are the only team or one of the only. No, they're the first team in, let me check, how many games here?
57.
57 games. 57 games, Alex. 57 games. I mean, that is the job. The job was to go in, frustrate Manchester City, which they did, and to have a few counterattacks on their own that almost, yielded something. But when all is said and done, they got out of there with a point, and they are still in front of Manchester City in the table, and they're still in the hunt for the Premier League title. So whether or not you were expecting a 5-4 barn burner, doesn't matter. Mikel Arteta got what he wanted out of that game, and I think that's all that matters for Arsenal fans, no?
Very true. I think Arsenal in this game with Man City showed a more mature team, showed a team more experienced, a year older with Saka, Odegaard, but they have to still be critical. You still need to score the goals. Saka didn't have the best of games, but who had the best of games was the center-back partnership of Gabriel and Saliba. Undoubtedly right now, one of the best center-back partnerships in the world. It's underrated, the fact that Gabriel has improved massively this season. And Saliba was the man of the match against Haaland. Man of the match. They both nullified Erling Haaland in that game. Saliba had the most touches, 0 times dribble passed, the most duels won, the most clearances, and Saliba is still a youngster. This defense of Arsenal cost him 56 million, and it's efficient. World class. I'll say it right now. And it's the main part in the game that I was saying to myself, I see a massive improvement in this Arsenal team that has a backline of 4. And they were comfortable in the build-up with 2 center backs and Gabriel and Saliba. To do just that, they have to be very good communicating with each other. So kudos to what Arteta is building with this team, starting from the back.
Rumors have it the ghost of Erling Haaland is still lurking amongst the stadium tonight. Nobody could figure out necessarily. No, I'm just kidding. But Gabriel, you could see it. You could see the video clips of Gabriel getting in his ear. I mean, it was just as much a screw with him mentally as it was physically. But it was would we call it a masterclass? I guess we would call it a masterclass away.
Yes.
Away at home, I guess it's expected. But they have now clean sheeted Manchester City twice this season, home and away. And it's a worrying a worrying trend for Manchester City, for Pep Guardiola, throughout the rest of this season, and that is against the traditional Big Six in the Premier League. They have 2 wins. 2 wins this season. 2 out of 9.
But they're unbeaten at home in all competitions in 38 games still, though, Brett.
Well, that is true.
I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying, and you go with it's reason. It's reason to point what you're pointing. But I wanted to say this. You're talking about how important this match was, and you said it in the start of this podcast. Man City in the Etihad were 2 years and a half, almost 3, scoring, 57 games. And historically, if you're going to remember in 10 years' time about Gabriel and Saliba, this is the game that you will remember. This is the moment that you will remember. And right now, this Arsenal team is starting to make history. And I haven't felt this with Arsenal in a long time. Since Thierry Henry, since Arsène Wenger, I haven't felt Arsenal make history in football. And this season, it's changed. Quarterfinals now against the Bayern Munich. A statement they can make. A 3-way race now to win the Premier League, in which they didn't lose with Liverpool and with Man City away. That shows resilience. That shows resilience.
Well, that's exactly right. I mean, counter this to last year at this time, right? Counter that feeling. And this year they have played 9 games in 2024, and they have won 8 of them. And the only one that they drew was Manchester City away
in the Premier League.
So in the Premier League, that's right, in the Premier League. And so this is a very different Arsenal. It might even be an Arsenal where defense wins games. And let's be honest, Alex, that's probably the only thing anyone is going to remember from this game is that center back pairing, because everything else was pretty dang forgetful unless you looked at I don't know, the arm movements and body language and the annoyance on all of Manchester City's attackers' faces and their arms getting thrown up in the air. De Bruyne at the end, I think, wanted to clothesline some ball boys or something. But it is I like the only positive here is that Arsenal is still in it, and we are how many games away? And that's the thing. So like there are still very tricky, tough tests to come, but you cannot look at those games and say that Arsenal's not ready.
True.
You cannot look at those games and say Arsenal's not ready. This is not last season. And that in and of itself, even if they wind up not winning the title, that in and of itself, again, is progress. And that's what you need, because the majority of this team is back next season. We know that. So I do still hold on to it. Though Liverpool put in quite the shift, I do still hold on to it that if anybody is going to win the title that is not Manchester City, I still believe it is going to be Arsenal.
Liverpool! God, Liverpool are definitely contenders, and right now they're leading.
Oh, for sure. Oh, yeah, they are.
But I do think Klopp being its last year, mentally, that does cause a bit of an effect. But Man City, just want to touch pads on Man City. Haaland has scored 20 goals this season, and we get the feeling that he's not doing good enough for his standards.
It's crazy.
He's a victim of his own success right now, because at the age of 23, people are criticizing Haaland for him not having a hold-up play. Come on! He can develop it still. Rodrygo Góes is still developing. He's the same age as Haaland. Come on, that's expectations, in my opinion. And Haaland is a top 3 Ballon d'Or player when he's in form, no doubt. But this is all about ups and downs in football. But I still think, Bretton, Man City will win or the Premier League or the Champions League. It's very hard for me to think that Man City this season won't win any title. But I'm leaning towards Real Madrid, Breton. And I've told you that in the past. And what Real Madrid is doing is greatness. And Man City, if Man City win the Premier League, it's 4 Premier League titles in a row. They become the best English team ever. Erling Haaland, Guardiola become icons. De Bruyne can confirm himself as the best midfielder ever in Premier League history. Foden at 23 saying, what else should I win? I'm here to make history in the next 10 years, people. It's getting started. Alvarez, Doku, Gvardiol next to him, youngsters. we're witnessing history with City. And this is the thing, too. We're in April. 1st of April. And we expect a reaction from City right now. They get embarrassed not to win this Arsenal game. For their standards, it's embarrassing with Guardiola. Yeah. And De Bruyne, Haaland expect a reaction in the Champions League and in the Premier League. If I say now on the podcast they're going to win every game until the end of the season, no one will be surprised because we're dealing with the best manager in football in the last decades, Pep Guardiola, and he's going bold, mate. So that's what I gotta say about City. They're a victim of their own success. But Haaland.
Well, they are, and when it comes to Haaland, I do wonder. Everything is singular with him, and in the fact that Bukayo Saka goes off to England national team camp, right? Declan Rice, Martin Odegaard's in the same boat, so I guess I can't really say this. But Erling Haaland, it's so one track. It's club, Manchester City, gotta score. And I just wonder if that singular goal, that singular focus for him, because let's be honest, the rest of his game isn't exactly multi-pronged, multifaceted.
Haaland is not as good as Mbappe. It's as simple as that.
No.
And that's his opponent towards Ballon d'Ors. Haaland needs to get the ball and create a goal. And Haaland needs the team to create the goal. It's normal. Gyökeres needs the team to create the goal too. Haaland is better than Gyökeres. Don't get me wrong, people. But he needs a system.
But exactly, and it's wacky to think, that this man, the only way that he is ever going to win the Ballon d'Or is if he puts a goal and a half in a game all season and wins every trophy, right? That's pretty much the only way. And it can't be in a World Cup season, and it can't be in a World Cup year, and it can't be in a Euro year because Norway's not taking part.
No, Erling Haaland wins the Ballon d'Or based on goals, being a striker, completely, Brett.
That's it.
Completely. And I think he recognizes that. That's why he goes to La Liga afterwards, after the Premier League. Too tough of a league. But that's not right now. He's 23. Let's wait and see what's going to happen on Erling Haaland and the future of Erling Haaland. Is there anything you wanted to point it out? Do you still think Man City are contenders? Because I still do.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. There is no way that you shouldn't be quaking in your boots thinking that they are still waiting to play their best football, because they have not played their best football very recently. I should say very, very recently. And Arsenal's hot. And listen, there's that sometimes that wears off very, very quickly. I was just trying to think what are the next big ones. Manchester City has Chelsea soon, right?
Yes, and Liverpool has United.
And Liverpool has United. That's right. That's
a big one. And Liverpool, interesting enough, it wasn't as easy as people thought to beat Brighton. Everyone was expecting Liverpool to beat Brighton, okay? No, but there was a surprise, and it was 1-0 for Brighton at Anfield, and a lot of chances were missed too. But I gotta say this. Mo Salah is 3 goal involvements away of hitting the 300 mark of goal involvements at Liverpool. How many seasons? 7 seasons. 7. Appreciate the legend of Mo Salah, one of the best African players I've ever seen, and one of the best wingers in Premier League history. I go bold and say that because it's not even bold. It's not even bold. But yes, 12 chances missed. 12 shots missed. Sorry.
I was looking through pictures the other day. It was Easter weekend. Was here with some family. We went abroad for Thanksgiving. I'm trying to remember if it was 2016, 27. No, it was 2016, I think. I went and saw Mo Salah play for AS Roma against Victoria Pilsen in the Stadio Olimpico. And I remember just one, being in awe, but 2, being like, what the heck happened in the Premier League the first time around? What? Why couldn't this get done? What's going on here? And then he signed for Liverpool, and the rest obviously is history. But just to go back and be like, who else did we see that day? We saw Antonio Rudiger. Remember that name? I mean, it's just amazing to go back to where he used to be, and now you're talking about 300 goal involvements, a Premier League trophy, and already a spot. I mean, I don't think he was quite up there yet, but already a spot in the potential, basically the African Hall of Fame. right?
And the Premier League.
Best of all time, and in the Premier League. So it is absolutely amazing. And yet, Alex, Liverpool didn't really have to lean on Salah on the day to get the win over Brighton, right? That game was all perseverance. That game, in my opinion, once again, was all Jarell Quansah, Virgil van Dijk, Connor Bradley. I mean, these kids coming out of nowhere, playing with one of the best in the game right now in the defense for Liverpool. I don't think people realize how amazing that is, considering that they're at the precipice of the Premier League right now, that they're at the top, holding such a tiny lead at the top, and these kids continue to play so well week in, week out, not without mistakes. And you'd be remiss to even not expect mistakes from them. They're never going to be perfect, but they have no business playing as good as they're playing. No business, and it's absolutely amazing to see. So Connor Bradley, Jarell Quansah are my MVPs of that tough win over De Zerbi's Brighton, and De Zerbi had a plan, and it worked for about 65 of the 90 minutes. Right?
I agree. I think Jarell Quansah played better than Virgil van Dijk that game. Okay, in terms of presence, in terms of actual clearances, and I think it was the first aerial duel that Virgil van Dijk lost. And since January. But I disagree with you with the Mo Salah take, because Mo Salah did score the goal, which led to the victory. But he did have a lot of chances missed, okay? I think Jota, on a good day, would have scored 2 or 3. But it happens to everyone, okay? And I think he's another one that is victim for the standard. But he's phenomenal, and I understand the point that you're saying. Kelleher, too. Kelleher, he's been having some masterclass, and this game wasn't the best. And the midfield of Liverpool, I wanted to give a shout out to that, because we see Chelsea spending millions with Moises Caicedo and Enzo Fernandez. We see Romeo Lavia too. I can't forget, he cost 60 million. That's more than McAllister and Hendo cost to Liverpool. And this midfield of Liverpool with Wataru Wendo, Szoboszlai 70 million though, and McAllister is one of the best midfields that I've seen of Liverpool in this past 3-5 years, in my view. They are very balanced. They're very good. And if Liverpool win the Premier League with Hendo as the defensive mid, I give huge respect to Jurgen Klopp, because no one knew of Wataru Wendo before the Premier League started. And if you knew, of course, you knew about the Bundesliga football, but you had doubts if he was going to be as good as he's being. Of course. And you got to recognize how good of a transition he's gotten and how fast it's been too. So Wataru Wendo, I really wanted to say good job on Klopp and on the Liverpool team, because Wataru Wendo has been one of the best signings in the Premier League. Cost efficient.
And obviously Alexis McAllister needs to be thrown in there as well, because his Christmas all the way till now has made up for what was a relatively slow start to his life at Liverpool. But Alexis McAllister obviously made that Mo Salah goal, threading that ball through. But I did forget that Salah had to put that one away. So you are correct there. But like, Alexis McAllister has been, I don't know. Would you go as far as saying he has been their best player?
No. Virgil van Dijk, for me, has been the best player of Liverpool this season. In terms of consistency, leadership, I think Salah,
I wasn't going to go as far as
the
full season. Yeah, I wasn't going to go as far as this season, but you're right. I mean, Van Dijk throughout the whole season. I was going to say in 2024 so far, but this second half of the season for McAllister is up there. And they're going to need him throughout the rest of the season.
Versus McAllister.
Hey, I mean, that's what is so crazy about this. I mean, you walk through this 11, and the majority of this 11, right, was not here last year. That turnover in the roster, the injuries that they've had to overcome, I mean, that's what makes a win over Brighton so impressive. A win over De Zerbi. And you don't see, I mean, yes, you do see that, I guess, in Manchester City's side. You do see some turnover. You do see some injuries in the Arsenal side, but not to the scope of Liverpool right now.
Yeah.
And Liverpool is leading the table. And that's what, like, Connor Bradley's not just playing the game. He's not just there as a stopgap, right? Until Trent Alexander-Arnold gets back. He is there, and he is thriving.
True.
And I think he's also grown 5 inches from the beginning of the season till now too, because these kids are still growing. And the biggest thing to come out of this weekend, I know I'm going off on a tangent here, is more so you look at Jurgen Klopp, you look at how he plays the game. We all knew after going down 1-0 that second half was going to be as many big chances as they could create, as relentless as possible, as counterattack heavy as possible, pushing and trying to capitalize on every turnover. And you look at it and you're like, who is going to take over this team when all is said and done if it's not Xabi Alonso? Right? Who is going to take over this Liverpool team? Because this is just, it's a jewel, waiting to be polished even further. I wouldn't even say that. I don't know really what to say here. But Klopp has set the table, and who is going to fill his shoes? And could it be De Zerbi?
Whoever fills his shoes is one of the hardest jobs in football, because the standard that they have to equal is impossible in the first season against Jurgen Klopp. Look at how long it took Jurgen Klopp towards having the team that he wanted. He now has Firmino, Darwin, Luis Diaz, but he had to build upon having a Firmino, a Sadio Mane, and a Salah in the past. They weren't there. They weren't there, and he made them become the players that they were. And you said it, and you said it well. De Zerbi. De Zerbi is very talked to be the Liverpool manager, but I'm going to say something. I said it in the podcast that Ruben was better than Erik ten Hag. Ruben is a better option. I'm not going to say much better, but I do believe it. But I think Ruben Amorim is a better option than Roberto De Zerbi for the Liverpool manager job. No doubt in my mind. 4 years ago, Bretson, Ruben Amorim was starting in a team that hadn't won the league in 19 years. A team that didn't have a winning culture. A team that wouldn't convince the Victor Gyökeres going from Championship to Sporting. Ruben, right now, after those 4 years, is fighting towards winning his second league title in that same time. Unreal. He changed the mentality. And I think Liverpool, because this is, I hope Liverpool fans, the same time they gave at the start for Jurgen Klopp, they give the same time if Ruben Amorim is the manager to Ruben too. He's 39 years old. Xabi Alonso's 42. Ruben is 39. He's younger. He's always played football. He's massive experience. He's worked with Jose Mourinho. He's worked with Jorge Jesus. If you know ball, you know he's a good manager. And he's ready. He is ready. Ruben Amorim is an intelligent individual. He's a well-spoken individual. He represents Portuguese football the right way. If he goes to Benfica and becomes a Benfica manager, Sporting fans won't hate him. They won't be like, yay, but they'll be like, okay, we respect that. We know he's a Benfica fan. They'll respect that. They will respect that, Bretson. And that shows a lot of the character of who he is. He's humble, and he's always been transparent. That's what Ruben is. And Pep Guardiola, when he sees Ruben Amorim coming to the Premier League, just like Arteta, because Arteta is a big boy manager, Guardiola's like, okay, another one that I've got to study hard. Oh, my days. And I guarantee you, he doesn't get the same feeling with Ruben that he gets from a Pochettino and an Erik ten Hag. It could be bold for some people to say this, but you know, and Ruben Amorim is inevitable. Inevitable.
I'm going to have to respectfully disagree on the Amorim being a better take than De Zerbi, just because you can't discount the league-to-league type of transition, right? And De Zerbi has done a lot. He has had backing, even though I know he's taken pot shots.
Account, yes. I'm taking
he's but De Zerbi has put together quite the team. I just think if you start instead of buying guys like Carlos Baleba, guys that still need to be, brought along and nurtured and all that, and you replace it with the guys for a De Zerbi-led Liverpool, like a McAllister, who he's had experience with, and others, it becomes very different, right? I know De Zerbi's recent quote-unquote unhappiness, or whatever you want to say. He's taking small little pot shots and press conferences at the ownership of Brighton, not necessarily getting who he wanted, I guess. We don't really know because he hasn't fully come out and said it. That gets solved for the most part at Liverpool, at least in taking a step up. in the support. Instead of buying young guys you can sell off, buying low, selling high, you're buying guys pretty much in their dang prime and putting them on the field. I think De Zerbi could do pretty dang well. And I think there are a lot of similarities between how De Zerbi plays and how Klopp currently plays. But the issue is De Zerbi ain't Klopp. And Klopp, he's not going to be Klopp. He's not Klopp, right? And that, I don't know how we can quantify that until he's gone, right? So De Zerbi doesn't, De Zerbi doesn't seem like the same type of manager that Jurgen Klopp is. But then again, you've had some people. I mean, he's turned some guys into genuine gems at Brighton. It's just this. I mean, come on, between Liverpool, between Barcelona, between Bayern Munich, this is more about a managerial sweepstakes this coming summer than it is, a summer in the transfer window to remember. And also add in Kylian Mbappe.
And Ruben in all three clubs that you mentioned would be better than De Zerbi. Would that be registered, okay? In 5 to 10 years' time, we will have the archive evidence. We will know what they are as managers, and we will know the decision that they did this summer, because it's going to be a big one. My last thing on the Prem before we go, I just wanted to say, Man United, I think their future, okay, they're not going to end top 4. Man United's future next season will be planned without Champions League, and if you don't think that's important, it's mega important in terms of finances and in terms of expectations too. Manchester United not finishing top 4 gives an excuse to the board, to the people at the top of the club, to say, Erik ten Hag, I'm sorry. You got Champions League football last season. This season you didn't. It's not the same. And if they get Southgate, though, they're going back in time, okay? I hope that's not the case. I hope that's fake news. But if they do this decision, it's now. And it's justifiable to an extent, okay? And the new midfield of Man United will have Kobe Maino, which is an assurity, okay? He's going to Euro 2024. And Bruno Fernandes. The third option will be a defensive midfielder, and a midfielder that can be box-to-box too. João Neves being the priority, which João Neves will cost 100 million people. 4 times best midfielder in the Portuguese league. And very intelligent midfielder.
Yeah, well, just to put numbers to what you're mentioning here in terms of the validity for letting go of Erik ten Hag. Listen, we were going to talk about Chelsea versus Burnley. We were going to talk about Brentford versus Manchester United. Both draws in the end. Both teams, obviously, amongst the perennial top 6 that should not be having issues with other teams like a Burnley, bottom of the table or close to it, or a Brentford who's had really bad run of form to start the year, and it's so bad that Thomas Frank, who we thought would potentially never get sacked, might actually be close to it. But listen, these 2 draws are not the same, right? These 2 draws are not the same. Chelsea at least had a 4.26 XG, right? And crushed Burnley on that front. They had 33 shots.
One man, though.
Now let's count. Right. But now let's counter that to the Brentford-Manchester United game. Brentford had more shots on goal than Manchester United had shots, period. Brentford had 31 shots, created 6 big chances to United's 2, and they out-XG'd. I know that doesn't mean everything, but they out-XG'd Manchester United 3.29 to United's 0.59. United didn't deserve to get a damn point out of that game. And yet, guess what? They did. And what I think made matters worse this weekend, kind of made X a cesspool to watch with Manchester United right now, especially Manchester United fans, is that there's this realization that, Jadon Sancho looked good in the Der Klassiker, right? He looked pretty dang good. You've got other people thriving, and then you've got people putting up there that Manchester United are up there with Brentford, are up there with Gladbach, with Sheffield United, with Luton Town and Darmstadt. They are the 3rd worst in the top 5 leagues when it comes to how many shots they face per game.
Oof.
I mean, they are the 3rd worst out of the top 5 leagues. This company, no, these stats don't mean everything. They could feel cherry-picked, I guess. But when you look at a game like that Brentford game, it doesn't. It has to further confirm with people that Erik ten Hag ain't that guy.
Facts collectively, that was one of the worst games I saw Man United this season, no doubt. And Ralph Ragnick warned everyone in the world of football that the problem was inside the locker room. It's like a virus. Ralph Ragnick's words, not mine. So leave with that, okay? Because it's big talk. We're going to talk more about Chelsea in future podcasts. Cole Palmer, though, Breton. We'll mention him in the Wonderkids. We'll mention him in the Wonderkids.
Well, last Premier League mention I just have to throw out there is we all have to accept that Ollie Watkins is now the goal involvement leader in the Premier League. So, kudos to him. But the real reason I paused you here is because I want to welcome Tyler Adams back to the world of starting in the Premier League. Tyler Adams, after, how many injuries? One major injury, obviously hamstring injury, and then a big setback. Not only did he score an absolute screamer, an absolute golazo to help the USA beat Mexico yet again in the CONCACAF Nations League final, he then comes back. He starts his first game back for Bournemouth. Not his first game back, but he starts his first game in a very long time for Bournemouth. It goes the full 90 minutes, and they actually get the win. Just a guy that I see as a massive piece of any success that we're going to have in 2026. Tyler Adams has to be there. And it's wonderful to see him back on the pitch. I know it's not quite, Manchester City, Arsenal newsworthy, but to me, to the U.S. men's national team, it absolutely is. Tyler Adams back. Happy to see it. Yeah.
I loved seeing Tyler Adams and Pulisic after talking to Jesse March after the game, saying what their thoughts. And I was thinking to myself, that talk should be happening inside the locker room, but that's a different conversation. What's that?
That's true.
Let us know what you're thinking in the Premier League with all that we have mentioned. But yes, new managers are going to be, there's going to be a new manager this summer at Liverpool, at Bayern Munich, at Barca, but that name for sure will not be Xabi Alonso in any of those teams. Xabi Alonso said to the world, no, people, I am staying in this project that I'm currently unbeaten. Bayer Leverkusen are 39 games unbeaten. The project is delivering. They're fighting for Europa League. They're fighting in the DFB Pokal. They're fighting in the Bundesliga. And honestly, right now, seeing Leverkusen project, a team that never won the Bundesliga, they could go back-to-back seasons because they only need 3 wins to win the Bundesliga. This one, and I don't see Bayern Munich too organized right now towards being an opponent right now. And if Kimmich is leaving, Bayern Munich has Kimmich leaving. Well, 13. They're 13. Bayern Munich are 13 points from Leverkusen. This summer, the speculations towards Kimmich leaving, Alphonso Davies leaving. Problems can be coming in the Bundesliga for the Bavarian Giants. So what are you thinking, Brett?
Well, I'm thinking, the Bayern Munich arc of kind of transfer efficiency once again shows itself. I mean, we were talking about Joshua Kimmich as I don't know if we would go as far as maybe $100 million man. But at one point his valuation was so far up there. And now not even a few years later, not only are they losing their streak, not only will we have to retire the Jurgen Klopp as the only guy to beat Bayern Munich, right? We're going to have to retire that and replace it with Xabi Alonso as the last one to beat Bayern Munich. But Thomas Tuchel has already conceded the race, essentially. They're 13 points down.
That's very important.
You've got mainstays, guys that keep that glue together. Still in the Champions League, but you've got guys that really do want out. The Bayern DNA, I'm not going to say that it's like inextricably changed, but it does feel altered some. I mean, if you look back at where Bayern has gone and the trajectory to get here, this isn't like Bayern went from scoring 100+ points in the Bundesliga to now only, if they win out, they get 81 points. Right? They really have been skating by in a Bundesliga that has kind of cannibalized itself, right? Dortmund beating up on Leipzig beating up on whatever. But you have to remember where they've come from. The last 3 or 4 seasons haven't exactly been like dominant Bayern Munich. They have not, right? They shouldn't have won last season. Dortmund should have put it away. It all came down to whether or not Dortmund got it done. They didn't do it. So this Bayern trajectory has been coming for some time, which leads me to believe that I am not surprised that Joshua Kimmich needs new pastures, right? That these guys need to move on. And it's also not surprising that Bayern is going to once again probably not make that much money off of them because they don't sell high. They keep their core together until, the timer runs out. But anyway, the attention should be on, as you mentioned, Xabi Alonso and Bayer Leverkusen. I don't want to take anything away from that. It is just absolutely unbelievable that 39 games unbeaten. Why would you want to leave that?
Exactly.
I mean, the only reason you'd want to leave that, I guess, is because maybe you believe in your heart of hearts that you cannot replicate that once again or get close to that again. And very clearly, this statement is, I'm here.
Do better.
We're going to do it again. Yep.
Or do it again.
Better. And
exactly.
They've already got Champions League football with 7 games left. I mean, they're already qualified. They're in the Champions League next year. So there you go.
And the way I see it too, it's for Xabi Alonso. I think Xabi Alonso stays and Florian Wirtz stays. And this season in football, I can't name 5 midfielders better than Florian Wirtz in terms of importance to their teams. Wirtz has been instrumental for this Leverkusen team. And for Xabi Alonso, this is an opportunity to make proper history in a team that has never won the Bundesliga. Because if he wins back-to-back titles with Leverkusen, the reason is Xabi Alonso. And the validation towards worldwide recognition is saying Xabi Alonso is one of the best managers in football. Now it's not a fluke. It's a fact if he does back-to-back, beating this Bayern Munich team that beforehand had won 11 in a row. And my Bayern Munich fans or Bavarian fans that listen here to the FC Wonderkid channel, I'm sorry, mate, but Zidane to Bayern Munich will not happen. I love to see the assistant manager possibility with Franck Ribéry. It would have been a good one, but it will not happen. And I honestly don't see, other than a Ruben Amorim or another manager that I'm not thinking right now, to beat Bayer Leverkusen with Xabi Alonso next season. I think it's going to be extremely difficult. Extremely difficult. But this team of Leverkusen, why do I say that, Bretzen? Because this team of Bayer Leverkusen, I don't think their main players are going to leave. I think Xhaka's going to stay. I think Florian Wirtz is going to stay. I think Grimaldo stays. Hoffman stays. But unfortunately, Frimpong will go. 35 million release clause. I think Boniface will go. I think or Kosunu or Hinkepi or Tapsoba will go. Not all the center backs will go. But one thing we know, Brett, Xabi Alonso stays. Rolf, the sporting director, loves that and will sign top players with this money. Because last summer, Leverkusen was one of the best teams in this summer transfer window. I think they can be again.
They will be again. They will be again. I mean, Boniface, I think you have a guy that got injured at a pretty bad time. And we have to remember, this is going to be a Bayer Leverkusen team that likely wins the Bundesliga, right? Ending Bayern's 11-year hegemony. And they're going to likely do it with not a striker as their top scorer in the Bundesliga. It's going to be either Grimaldo or it's going to be Frimpong, because Boniface, I don't know how much he's going to play before the end of the season in the Bundesliga if you don't need to. But he's got 10 goals to Grimaldo's 9 to Frimpong's 8. And I am going to say out there, yes, the 35 million release clause, that's fine, but I'd be very surprised if Rolfs wasn't working hard on the inside, working hard to potentially get him to stick around for the project. Xabi Alonso staying should be enough to get Frimpong to want to stay. So I think they can keep everybody intact. It's just whether or not they want to. And to be honest, the one place I think they could improve upon and get more depth in is going to be, Patrick Schick has issues when it comes to injury and staying fit, and so now does Victor Boniface. I think they need another striker, whether or not they sell Boniface off, right? So I think that is an easier selection process probably for Rolfs than, say, finding 2 new bombers down the wing, right? Grimaldo or Frimpong. Right. So that's going to be interesting. But I think Rolfs is not being talked enough about how masterfully he has architected this team.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. And the fact that Xabi Alonso is convinced is a lot because of Hulf. You said it 4 weeks ago, completely, Breton. And I do think another factor, not the only factor towards Xabi Alonso staying at Leverkusen, was Ancelotti staying another year at Real Madrid. And after Ancelotti, something can happen. And honestly, no one can equal what Klopp did at Liverpool. It's hard to beat. It's hard to do a good job at the start. Not hard. At Bayern Munich, it's not hard at the start, but you got pressure with you. But Xabi Alonso staying was the right choice in my view, because there's a chance of not next season, the following season, him becoming the manager of Real Madrid. And Real Madrid, not next season, the following season, no doubt in my mind, will have the best team in the... No. I'm sorry. Rephrase myself. Real Madrid next season will have the best team in football. And it will be the dream of every manager in football to coach that team. Well, Pep Guardiola, no, because we all know his past. But for Xabi Alonso, being a Real Madrid player in the past, it will definitely be a dream to be a Galáctico when Rodrygo, Bellingham, Vini, Valverde, Militão, Tchouaméni, Endrick, Arda Güler, and Kylian Mbappe is right there. And Camavinga, don't forget. This is the team that every single manager would like to coach, especially if you have ties to Real Madrid in the past, like Xabi Alonso does. So, yes.
I do have to ask, Kylian Mbappe in that mix. I'm sure Xabi Alonso would say, yes, I obviously want to manage Kylian Mbappe. Do you think that there's even the slightest bit of reluctance when it comes to just how much oxygen in the locker room that Kylian Mbappe commandeers essentially? I part of me wonders they're going to have amazing games, but I feel like part of me has been wrestling with a Kylian Mbappe in that Real Madrid locker room, which seems so harmonious right now. It seems like these guys get each other. I mean, the sheer excitement on their faces, watching Eder Militao come back from injury and, kissing him on the head, giving him these things, you can tell this is a very tight-knit crew. Xabi Alonso would, I think, add to that, would bring that in. They're doing that, in spite of, say, a Carlo Ancelotti, and Xabi Alonso, I think, would be a really good addition to that. I think the odd person out, who obviously also happens to be the best footballer out of the bunch, would be Kylian Mbappe coming in. And it's just going to change the chemistry. And I'm just saying, I'm starting right now vocalizing my reluctance about that, my concerns about that, because there's no doubt that when you put him on the pitch, that's going to be a hell of a game. But Kylian Mbappe, I think, is going to have to change a little bit, because Real Madrid is like one of the only clubs on the planet that isn't going to change for him.
Oh, yeah, 100%. The best club in the world. Mbappe wants to become a Galáctico. He's not one right now. He wants to become. And Rodrygo, Vini, Bellingham, they're the Galacticos right now. And Endrick, too. Yeah. He's got that aura towards him. But yes, going with what you said with the Mbappe, because it's huge. The fact that Kylian Mbappe comes in the summer is absolutely changing in football. It's the domino effect that will change everything in football. Kylian Mbappe coming. And this season, Rodrygo has 18 goals, 8 assists. Vini has 18 goals, 8 assists too. And Jude Bellingham, 22 goals and 12 assists. And if they win the Champions League, everybody's thinking Real Madrid have the best team in the world. Adding Kylian Mbappe into the mix, they're for sure the best team in the world. But your concern is that they can go a step back towards having Kylian Mbappe in the team. I think they will still be the best team in the world, even though Kylian Mbappe comes. But one thing I could agree with you, Breton, I don't think Rodrygo, Vini, one of them, I think, in 2-3 years will go. I think it won't be immediate. I think Florentino Perez will try to make it happen. But long term, I think it's very hard. And I respect Rodrygo. Because Rodrygo, guys, people often forget he's 23 years old right now. People forget that he's been in the scene for a long time. From Sanch immediately to Real. It's not an easy transition. And he's got 52 goals, 52 goals for Real, 40 assists. 40 assists. These numbers. For a player his age and with the expectations that he had. And you can see the growth towards Rodrygo too. Both Vini and Rodrygo, you remember when they came. They were not the player that we see. And they're still becoming players that we do not know what's their ceiling. Rodrygo and Vini's ceiling can be Ballon d'Or. Will an Mbappe stop that ceiling to happen? Yes, because Mbappe will be the one collecting those Ballon d'Ors. So I think it's just a lot of expectations, a lot that we need to see before the summer comes. Because if Jude Bellingham, if Jude Bellingham, Rodrygo, and Vinicius win the Champions League this season, again, no one will be saying that Mbappe makes them the best team in the world. They are the best team in the world. So it's understanding what we can do with that. And what I love about Real Madrid is that their inspirations is Ronaldo, Breton. And since the age of 30, it's 419 goals, mate. So I just wanted to say that in the podcast. In a place. And Real Madrid are unbeaten in La Liga 24 games. 24 games. So this is a great team built by Carlo Ancelotti. Lucky.
It is.
Lucky. Whoever's in it. Top.
Yeah, well, that's and there's another reluctance there. I mean, Xabi Alonso, that's a big step up in terms of.
Oh, but he's right. He's got that.
I want to see there you go. I want to see another season at Bayer Leverkusen before we say he's ready, right?
Exactly.
And I think that's basically what this is. It's a continued audition, if you will. I don't think it's a coincidence, you already alluded to that Ancelotti's there one more year. Xabi Alonso re-ups one more year. Then let's see where we're at. Put all our chips on the table and see where we go from here. But Real Madrid, man, they definitely seem better positioned. But what about their eternal enemies?
Rivals.
What about Barcelona? How are you feeling about that? Because that's another managerial kind of. I don't know where they're going with this. I have no clue where they're going for manager. I mean, they could just as much go with Michel or Pimienta at Las Palmas. That's who I think they should go for. But you wrestle with the brand name, you wrestle with everything, and it's like, we need a big name, or maybe we just need somebody that understands Barcelona. Exactly. Which one is it, fans? I need to know, right? So who do you think it's going to be? Because that's probably more out there. That's just as far out there as Liverpool right now. Yep. Xavi kind of put them in a bind. You mentioned, though, that you think Xavi might actually re-up again.
Xavi? No, I said for Laporta and Deku will for sure try to convince Xavi towards re-upping.
Go one more year.
I was thinking, is Xabi Alonso Leverkusen Bretons? No, Xavi. So many Xavis right here. But you're talking about Xavi, head coach and Barca.
Xavi.
But one thing to start here with the Barca talk here. I like how you said Barca have to go with a top manager or a Barca manager that knows Barca. The answer is simple. Yeah. The answer is a manager that knows Barca right now. Barca fans, do not expect Thomas Tuchel to come to Barca. Do not expect De Serbi to go to Barca. And for me, unfortunately, don't expect Nagelsmann to go to Barca. I think Rafa Marquez is much more likely to happen. And Hansi Flick. I think Hansi Flick is one of those names that's not being thrown around a lot, but he's very possible to go to Barca. He's been a lot in the city. He's learning the language, and I think he would accept the role towards Barca being the top team in the world, and I think he believes that he can make that happen. Because if we all remember that Bayern-Barca game, we all remember it. And the man who was coaching that Bayern team was Hansi Flick. But one thing's for sure, Breton. What makes us think that Laporta has to convince Xavi towards becoming the new manager? No, the new manager. To extend his management at Barca. It's the fact that Xavi trusts La Masia. Xavi trusted Pau Cubarsí. Pau Cubarsí has 11 games in La Liga. 10 starts at 17. Xavi makes the decision. And Barca in their last 11 games, 22 goals, 8 wins, 6 clean sheets, 0 losses. And I'm saying it's because of a 17-year-old that just arrived from La Masia. Pau Cubarsí had an effect towards this team because they had no CDM. I said to you a couple of weeks ago, Barca need a CDM in terms of passing ability, distribution. Yeah. They have felt that since Busquets has left. Cubarsí at center back is making the passes that you'd expect maybe from a long passing CDM. Unreal what he's doing. Unreal the gaps that he's filling. And this is what you got to invest upon. La Masia. And if you're a Barca coach, it's mandatory. Mandatory in my view, Breton. But yes.
Yeah, I would have liked some 20 or 21-year-olds to come on through or something like that. A little reserve action that can maybe
Fermin Lopez, he's 20.
Maybe cement the gap between a 17-year-old automatically hopping into it. But yeah, no, obviously, Pau Cubarsí has been phenomenal. I think Fermin Lopez deserves a small shout out in the intensity that he plays. He scored some key goals for them recently. And obviously Lamine Yamal, not one of the best wingers on the planet right now in terms of his form and his inability to predict. Nobody can predict what the hell the kid's going to do.
Exactly.
And until you get more tape on him, he's got a heads up on most La Liga defenses, let alone most UCL defenses. So it's been a lot of fun to watch, to the point where you would hope that once that the processing of, like, this is why I don't really understand Xavi jumping the gun and getting, out there. I think that they punched above their weight last year when they won.
Exactly.
Right? And I think that was almost the worst thing for Xavi to happen because it set the bar. I mean, I know the bar is always insanely high for Barcelona, as it should be, but considering everything that the club is going through internally, financially, all that stuff, I mean, winning La Liga last year was insane.
Yeah.
That was amazing. And playing as well as they did, that was amazing, right? And yes, there have been some really weird, lopsided, bad periods of form this season, but when they play well, they play very, very well. And you can see seeds of, obviously, a very good Barcelona coming back. They're still in Champions League football. I mean, what more did you necessarily want from him this season? And I'd actually love to know, what more did you want from Xavi this season that wouldn't have made you feel, say, critical of his decision to leave prematurely? So I don't know, man. I don't know the answer, but Barcelona, it just doesn't feel like they're, aside from personnel, it just doesn't feel like they're any closer to necessarily finding that answer. But the answer can't be Pau Cubarsí in everything. It can't be Lamine Yamal in everything. It can't be. It can't be.
It is. No, the answer is not just him. Sorry. The answer is La Masia.
I know.
Because the difference, I think I said it last podcast, the difference between Real Madrid and Atletico, any team in the world of football right now at the top, is La Masia right now. That's the main difference in my view. And Pau Cubarsí and Lamine Yamal are inevitable because of La Masia. They're going so bold because they've got that talent and they've got that trust too. And I wanted to mention here with the Wonderkids talk, I think FC Wonderkid, we got to mention these types of players. Michael Fahy, Senegal, he's represented. 5 goals in his last 7 matches. A top center back that you must know. Expect him to start some games for Barca this season. Michael Fahy.
Yeah, he's already, I think you might have just said this, but he's already made a cap for Senegal, right? Already had a cap or 2. But yeah, he's very good, shrewd signing. I still think Noah Darvish is going to come through for them as well, longer term. Might see him in the midfield next season for Barcelona. But yeah, if we're going down the Wonderkid list, I got to give a little shout out to the Slovakian wonder winger for Feyenoord, 18-year-old Leo Sauer. Made his Slovakian debut earlier in the week, and then he adds a goal I think it was a remontada. I think it was a big comeback for Feyenoord against Utrecht. And he's got 2 goals, 3 assists in like 200 minutes played this season for them. But if you don't know the name now, you're going to know the name next season because Feyenoord might have Igor Paixão, might have some others on the wing. Leo Sauer is going to be somebody you're definitely going to see come through for them at Feyenoord next season. But it's great to see him start to really inch his way into the 11 instead of a spot start here and there. Actually, no, he hasn't had a start in the Eredivisie this season, but he is definitely one you got to watch.
Got to watch in Eredivisie. Wonderkids is for sure, Breton. I agree with that, and I love that you're mentioning him. Guilo Fernandez too. We mentioned La Masia a lot. We mentioned Michael Fay, center back, but we gotta mention this midfielder because Guilo Fernandez surpassed the record of Lamine Yamal of youngest debut ever in Barca Athletic history. 15 years old. It's a 10-day difference, okay? But one thing's for sure, Lamine Yamal had his road really quickly path to Barca's first team very fast. I think Gil Fernandez will also have a fast path towards going to that Barca first team.
Well, I did recently get a I'm starting to like this project. I think somebody needs to do it on Football Manager. I think you need to replace all the players in the Barca 11, install Rafa Marquez, right? Because he's within the academy right now, and you can only play La Masia players. How's that sound? In La Liga, well, how do you think they do? I know they got a good goalkeeper in Diego Cachin, U.S. kid. Well, not really. I mean, he's U.S. Spanish joints, but he is playing for the U.S. youth national team now. I would like to see where they wind up in La Liga. If you got Pau Prim in there, you've got some great names that we haven't yet. We're not Hector Fort, who's seen some starts. Mark Gueux. Oh man, here we go again. Goy.
Good striker.
Give him some more starts up top. I mean, what do you guys think? If these phenoms were given the ability to play in La Liga, I think mid-table. What do you
think? Under 18, 11? For Barca?
Well,
I think
we might have to extend it to like U20, U21. Yeah, mid-table. Okay,
mid-table,
cool.
mid-table. But if it's like slowly and steady like we're seeing, I think it's La Liga against Real Madrid. But mentioning La Liga against Real Madrid, Guilo Fernandez comes from La Masia, but Real Madrid have this thing of getting the best. And I think Endrick is one of the best, and we saw an historical match, which was a friendly, okay, which is a bit mad, between Lamine Yamal and Endrick. And people will remember this encounter and say, I watched this game. It was a friendly, but I watched this game. I watched Endrick score against Spain and Lamine Yamal destroying every Brazilian defender. This is going to be remembered, and there's a reason why he gets a standing ovation in the Bernabeu, Lamine Yamal. And I know he's representing Spain. I know he's 16, so it makes him more lovable. It's true. He's not a Ronaldinho, a Brazilian that comes to Bernabeu and destroys everyone. He's not an Iniesta that destroyed two in a Barca jersey. But the fact that you get a standing ovation, come on, it's phenomenal.
Yeah,
it's almost unique, okay? So give the respect to Lamine Yamal, because what he's starting to do is special. And going with numbers, Endrick will not play for Castilla, will not go on loan. Endrick will play in the first team of Real Madrid. Endrick is the first place of most goals scored before the age of 18 in Brasileirão history. Endrick has 11 goals. Neymar 10. Joe, remember Joe from Man City, 9 goals. Fourth, Rodrygo with 8. And Gabriel Barbosa, 7 goals. Endrick is the number one. Generational, mate. Because he scores in the Bernabeu, scores at Wembley. Mentions Bobby Charlton after the game. What doesn't Endrick do? What doesn't Endrick do, mate?
Either he really knows the game, or
he does,
or media training was phenomenal for it. That's great. That's
feel
great.
It. He's learning Spanish. He's learning English. He broke up with his ex-girlfriend because honestly, you just didn't get the feel that he's getting with this girlfriend now, which is like Vogue cover of the magazine after that game. That kiss between them both. It's almost perfect, everything in his life. So expectations are high. I've been I'm
not going to comment on a teen's love life here, but
she's 23.
Whoa.
And
what?
17.
She's 23?
Yeah.
Oh my.
I think 22 and 23.
Gosh.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure in the States I can't even talk about this. 23-year-old with a 17-year-old, huh? That's
Brazil.
okay. All right. Yeah.
I,
Well,
I could be wrong.
he's punching above his weight. No, I think Endrick is very prepared.
Yes.
That's for sure. And I don't think you're going to have the same growing pains that Rodrygo and Vinicius had before him. And a lot of that's because they went through it for him. And essentially they're going to be able to bring him along, show him the ropes, and he's obviously doing all the work on his own right now to make sure that it's a quick and easy assimilation. And yeah, I think they're ready, man. It's going to be really, really interesting to see them take La Liga by storm. A Brazilian trio that hopefully Kylian Mbappe. Hopefully there is room for Rodrygo, even if Kylian Mbappe does arrive.
I hope so.
I want to see that Brazilian trio at work.
And if they're gonna do anything in Copa America, is trusting this Brazilian trio of Endrick, Endrick, Vini, and Rodrygo. But I was gonna mention Vitor Roque, that's why I was thinking it. I'm gonna do a prediction right now. I'm gonna say it right now. I feel it right now. I feel it 100%. Endrick next season in La Liga, even though he's competing against Rodrygo, Vini, Mbappe, maybe, I think Endrick will have more goals than Vitor Roque. I really think that will be the case. Endrick will also have more minutes in the Brazil national team. I honestly think Endrick, even being younger, will be perceived as a better player, no doubt, than Vitor Roque. I think he already is. It's a debate. It was a debate. Yeah. But the more I see it, the mentality of this kid, that's what makes him special. I'm not going to say that Rodrygo Goes, Vinicius Jr. don't work hard, because I really do believe they do. I think Rodrygo Goes monitors his sleep. He goes to that extent. He monitors the calories, everything. He is a Galactico. They live the Galactico lifestyle, so you can't hate on them. But I think Endrick and like a Ronaldo, they live the Galactico lifestyle and a bit of, and a little more. And a little more, and a little more, and that competitiveness. You know what I mean, Bretson? I feel.
I do.
That hunger.
I do. One of the first things I ever noticed about Endrick was how he chased a ball as if it was the last thing he was ever going. No, he chased a random ball that was passed into space, like it was the last thing that he would ever do.
Oh, like a dual
right?
election.
The tenacity. Yeah, like the tenacity that he approaches, every play on the field with, is something that I hope sticks with him throughout his whole career. I know that gets, as you get better, they tell you to work smarter, not harder, in a game. But a lot of his movements, a lot of his tenacity on the field, I don't think is like hyperbole. I don't think it's over the top. I honestly just believe he is built to be like a Jack Russell Terrier out there. I mean, he just chases everything, and I think that mentality is probably throughout his entire life. So that's why I do think Endrick is prepared. I think Vitor Roque will come good for sure. I think he's going to need a little more of a transition period, and maybe a little more stability at Barcelona before that happens. But Endrick is walking into a situation where they have, a lot of the worst mistakes, I guess, of bringing a young Brazilian into the mix, into a club as big as Real Madrid, have already been made. And they've been made by Rodrygo. They've been made by Vinicius Jr. And they're also dealing with the racism stuff, right? They're dealing with all that stuff before him. They know they're going to be able to tell him exactly what Real Madrid, what the experience is like, and exactly what he probably needs to do to take it to the next level. And that's going to be really interesting to see if it pans out the way I'm thinking it might pan out.
I think it's the generations that they'll be more connected, because you had Marcelo, you had Roberto Carlos, you had Brazilian players there, but it was just not the same age groups. There was Odegaard said he couldn't connect with the locker room. And I do think that's the case, because you had Pep, you had Ronaldo, you had Marcelo, you had different age groups. Exactly.
Because you were 15.
Because you're 15, 16, true, exactly. But
get him a 23-year-old girlfriend and then talk.
I like the good one. But Endrick is the opposite. Endrick sees all this youth, and he's inspired towards it. And Endrick will be 22 when Mbappe is 30. Endrick
Yeah.
will be eligible to win the Golden Boy. I think it's when in 2028. That's mad to still be eligible. Lamine Yamal, I think, is until 2029, 2030. So that's another one. He's a year older than Lamine Yamal. Endrick. But he's so old.
The new battle begins, I suppose.
Oh my
Yamal
days.
versus Endrick.
But
Long-term.
Hendrik is arriving to Real Madrid. Mbappe could be arriving to Real Madrid, but the other player that will for sure need to arrive, well, for sure no, a center back will for sure need to arrive. But the player I think it will be Real Madrid, I think will go for Leny Yoro. Rami went bold, okay, and said, Rami, if you don't know, the center back, Adil Rami said the best defender in Liga, everyone knows that, is Leny Yoro. Everyone knows that, Leny Yoro. And who for sure knows that is Real Madrid. And we could have two Ligue 1 players arriving at Real Madrid next season. Kylian Mbappe, the best forward, no doubt. And Rami, the best defender, too, at Real Madrid. Yeah. And it costs 60 million. Well, that's what people are saying that Lille expects, at least, to get from Leny Yoro. But I think Real Madrid will put it to 40 to 50 million. Bit of a negotiation.
bit of a negotiation. Yeah, but it's he's been very, very rock solid. Shockingly, sometimes I look at him and I think he's 23, 24.
Composure.
It is. It's purely composure, and it's just another feather in the cap of the French footballing system and their ability to create world-class potential center backs. It's baffling to me.
Saliba?
Oh my God. I mean,
Saliba,
Konate when he's healthy.
Konate, Lucas Hernandez.
It could go on and on.
But you got so much talent. But Saliba and Leny Yoro, look, if we're gonna account the talent towards the expectation, this is the expectation we have for in the next 5 years. Leny Yoro and Saliba as a center back duo. And this is, and people are saying, but you didn't even know who Leny Yoro was a year ago, mate. That's not true.
Not true.
First things first, that's not true. Second of all, if you see a player in Liga having this anticipation, this composure, this total package for a center back, you know he's special. And if you see the fans looking the way they look at Leny Yoro, you also say this is not normal too. He's already perceived as a star in Lille, and he's 18. So if you don't accept, well, you just got it's all about time. It's all about time because he goes to.
I do think you have to.
He's a big name.
I do think you have to watch out for PSG in this instance, though. They're probably looking for a long-term strike partner, center back pairing for a guy like Lucas Beraldo. So, and PSG does have pool in Lyon. We've seen it, and they could see. I could see them kind of coming in and making it worth his while. And if you want that visibility, well, then again, you're going to get visibility Real Madrid. It's just whether or not you play all the time. That's the question.
I have here in my notes, I've got PSG. You exploded my mind if this new PSG had a Leny Yoro next to Beraldo. You exploded my mind, mate, because those two, for me, are the top center backs. Are in the top center backs under 20 in the world right now. Beraldo and Leny Yoro.
And Luis Campos, knows the name.
Knows
surely.
him. Knows him.
Knows him personally. Has probably had personal conversations with him.
Yeah.
So I see that now. I know we're saying this after Beraldo was sent off in the derby over the weekend. But listen, Beraldo's been a whole lot more good than bad as of late for them, and PSG is going to win that cakewalk. I mean, they still won that game. A man down for the majority of the game. They still won 2-0, right?
Exactly.
So.
And the best is yet to come from PSG, I believe, okay? I know Mbappe will leave PSG as the biggest legend of this team, but it's undeniable that while he's going to leave at the end of the season, we can see the improvements with Vitinha. Gonçalo Ramos is improving as a player. Dembélé, not the case. Beraldo, the case. Ugarte, the case. Warren Zaïmri, the case. Luis Enrique is a respected manager at PSG. Okay, people say, okay, we know Mbappe is going to go, but we still trust Luis Enrique. I respect that.
Yeah.
And this new PSG with Luis Enrique, they have Beraldo at the back. They have Ugarte. They have Xavi Simons coming next season. Warren Said Emery. Vitinha, one of the best midfielders this season in Liga.
Yep.
No doubt. Nuno Mendes, in form, one of the best left backs in the world. And Gonçalo Ramos, I believe, he's not going to be Haaland, but he will be one of the best strikers in the world in the next 5 to 10 years. I believe in you, Gonçalo. It's been a long time too, so keep going bold, mate, okay? Just wanted to say that. Do you have anything you wanted to mention on the Wonderkids, Breton?
Well, not necessarily Wonderkids. I think before we wrap things up, I did want everybody, you know, if you're drinking a drink right now, you got to pour one out for that PSV run. I threw out there, I believe it was Alex that said Bayer Leverkusen could go the full season invincibly. And I was the one that said, well, I'm pretty certain it's going to be PSV Eindhoven that does it. Well, I am officially wrong. It was a weird, bizarre and loss to NEC.
Exactly.
And the even weirder thing, Alex, is that as we have mentioned in past episodes, Feyenoord is having a very good season. Like, I'm talking Eredivisie winning season in every year, but this year because of PSV. Well, because of that PSV loss, they're only 7 points behind. Okay, now,
and
probably insurmountable still.
They were losing.
Probably insurmountable, yeah. But they had to come back, and I think that obviously you see that momentum, and you see that that push forward, and them getting, like, Quentin Timber has not gotten enough love this season. Still only 22 years old. He's probably one of their massively key players for Feyenoord. So I am, Matt. Yeah, exactly.
Calvin
and
Stengs.
David Hanko. It was the first time I think 2 Slovakians have been on the Eredivisie score sheet in the same day when you had Leo Sauer and David Hanko both scoring. But listen, it really just comes down to the fact that PSV's season has been insane. But the fact that they've only got a 7-point gap at the top surprised me. I still think they'll win it all. But my gosh, what a run it was. I think it was 42 games unbeaten for PSV in total. 42 games. And
they have the top goal scorer. The top goal scorer. No, I know Pavlidis. No.
Pavlidis is would like to check into the chat here. 24 goals for him, and I'd be very surprised. Somebody, let's see, who was it last season that was Utrecht? Duvikas, the other Greek striker who went to Celta. I think Vangelis Pavlidis can go somewhere a little bit higher up the food chain than Celta. But we'll see.
Pavlidis and Santiago Jimenez, you both get the feeling that they're going to leave. And with Luke de Jong, you don't.
Yes.
Stay at PSV, become a legend at PSV, have more than 30 goals in all competitions again. Come on, go bold, Luke de Jong, because you're
come on, you know who that blocks? Alex. Don't hurt my heart.
Pepe.
You know who that blocks? That blocks
inevitable.
Pepe, sir.
It's inevitable, mate.
It's
gotta leave, mate. A bit like Cockshoe was. No, but different expectations, realities.
You see that a bit like Olivier Giroud to LAFC potentially, huh? You see that?
I did see that. I'm surprised. I think it's gonna be like after the Euro, is gonna be saying, "Look, I'm gonna take my talents and I'm going to Miami."
Yeah, well, he's like 30. He's almost Miami, he's pushing 40, man. He's pushing 40. No, but I did want to mention something that I noticed before we end the pod here. AC Milan, man. I was looking at their Serie A top scorers, and I'm looking at it, and I don't like laughing at Chelsea, but in this instance, come on. Olivier Giroud leads AC Milan, who is now firmly in second place, firmly got Champions League football probably set up for next season, barring a major catastrophe. But Olivier Giroud has 12 goals for them this season. Christian Pulisic has 9. Ruben Loftus-Cheek has 6 goals. And that same trio, all of which have been at Chelsea in the past, have scored 7 of their 9 Europa League goals. That's just baffling. And they've been involved in 42 of the 57 Serie A goals this season. 3 guys that were cast off of Chelsea. Maybe less so Giroud, but Pulisic and Loftus-Cheek were definitely cast off.
Yeah.
So it is pretty interesting. What do they say? one team's trash is another team's treasure.
Well, but they did
And
try
that's
with Loftus-Cheek, though. I do
Yeah.
think that
Oh, yeah.
they could have let go of him earlier, but they didn't
True.
because of the talents. They trusted what AC
Mm-hmm.
Milan now is getting. Because, yes, it's all about timing in football. I'm going to end the podcast saying if you want to know Wonderkids, there's 5 Wonderkids that you must remember your names from Portugal. This is a bit of a tip that I believe they're going to be one of the best. No, they're the top
Like
Wonderkids under the age of 18 in world of football. Definitely the top in Portugal right now. Rodrygo Mora, Giovanni Kenda, Cardoso Varela, winger, right winger, 15 years old. João Simões, I found him out this weekend, playing very well for Portugal under 17. And Gabriel Silva, the striker, the new big striker. The Sporting have high aspirations to be a player that will play for Sporting at 18. And I don't mean like Rodrygo Ribeiro. I like Rodrygo Ribeiro. I think he's got talent. He's a good striker. But I think Gabriel Silva will have like a Tiago Tomás importance when he goes to the first team. Because Tiago Tomás was important towards Sporting winning their first league title in 19 years.
True.
So he then went to Stuttgart. It's ups and downs, just like Eduardo Quaresma. He went to Hoffenheim in the past too, and now he's playing his best football. So and Giovanni Kenda. I cannot forget Giovanni Kenda. So these are the names. We will talk more in depth about these names and other names here at FC Wonderkid. Let us know what you want to see for next season, what you want to see here at FC Wonderkid. Euro 2024 is going to kick in. Copa America is going to kick in. Go bold in the comment section with suggestions. Please like this video. Okay, it's a huge help for our podcast to see that you're liking it here until the end. And if you're listening until now, thank you so much, people, for going with us, bold with us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube.
3 years, man.
Almost.
Almost 3 years.
Almost. When Nunes plays in the Euros, that's what it's 3. I'm joking. But thank you. Thank you, everyone, for your support. And thank you for going bold with us. Almost 3 years now.